Imagine you are standing on a mountain for the last 20 years. You've been climbing, you've worked hard, you've gained experience. You've probably seen your paycheck grow from a tiny trickle into a steady stream. Now, you are in your 40s, you are at the peak. You have more power, more money, and more respect than you did when you started. But there is a secret about this peak that no one tells you until it's too late. The peak is the most dangerous place to be. When you are at the top, the only way left to go is down, and how you handle the next 10 years determines if you glide down into a beautiful, peaceful valley or if you go tumbling off a cliff. Your 40s are the invisible fork in the road. On one side, there is the path of the comfortable. These people aren't necessarily geniuses or lucky. They just understand that the clock is ticking differently now. On the other side is the path of the stressed. These are often people who look very successful on the outside. They drive the nice cars. They live in the big houses. They have the high status jobs. But behind closed doors, they are running on a treadmill that is moving faster every single day. They are terrified because deep down, they know that if they stop running for even 1 month, the whole house of cards falls apart. Why does this happen in your 40s? It's because of a trap called lifestyle creep. Think of your income like water flowing into a bucket. When you were 25, the bucket was small and the water was just a drip. You lived in a tiny apartment. You ate cheap food. You were happy. As you got older, the water started flowing faster. You got raises. You got bonuses. But instead of letting the bucket fill up, you started poking holes in the bottom. You got a bigger house. Now you have a hole labeled mortgage. You got a luxury SUV. Now you have a hole labeled car payment. You started going to fancy dinners. Now you have a hole labeled lifestyle. By the time you hit 40, the water is gushing in faster than ever before. This should be the time you get rich. But because you've poked so many holes in the bottom of the bucket, the water is leaving just as fast as it enters. You are making more money than you ever dreamed of, yet you feel like you are barely staying dry. This is the speed limit trap. You think that because you have a high income, you are safe. But income is not wealth. Income is just the speed of the water. Wealth is what stays in the bucket. If you are in your 40s, you are likely in your highest earning years. This is your golden decade. This is the period where you have the maximum amount of leverage. You have the skills to command a high salary, and you still have enough years left before retirement to let math do the heavy lifting. But most people waste this leverage. They use their 40s to reward themselves for the hard work of their 30s. They buy the forever home. They buy the boat. They upgrade their life to match their new salary. What they don't realize is that they are trading their future freedom for a temporary feeling of status. Every time you increase your fixed costs in your 40s, you are pushing your retirement date further into the future. You are telling your future self, sorry, you have to work 5 more years because I wanted a heated leather seat in my car today. Let's look at the math in the simplest way possible. Imagine 2 people, Sam and Alex. Sam is 40 years old. He decides to get serious. He realizes that he doesn't need to impress his neighbors. He keeps his modest house, keeps his older car, and starts putting away $3,000 every month. Alex is also 40. Alex decides he has made it. He buys a house that costs twice as much and a car that requires a $1,000 a month payment. He tells himself he will start saving seriously when he hits 50. By the time they both reach 60, Sam has a mountain of cash that is making more money in interest than he used to make at his job. He can stop working whenever he wants. He is calm. He is free. Alex, on the other hand, is 60 and panicking. He has a beautiful house and a shiny car, but he has almost nothing in the bank. He finally starts trying to save, but he realizes he has run out of time. He has to work until he's 75 just to keep the lights on in that big house. The tragedy is that Alex worked just as hard as Sam. He made just as much money as Sam. But Alex chose the path of stress because he fell for the invisible fork. He thought that being rich meant spending money. He didn't realize that being wealthy means having the choice not to spend your time working. In your 40s, your biggest enemy isn't the stock market or the economy. Your biggest enemy is the person you see in the mirror. It's the version of you that wants to look successful instead of actually being successful. Real success in your 40S isn't about what you buy. It's about what you keep. It's about realizing that you are currently in the most important window of your entire life. If you spend this decade chasing status, you are setting yourself up for a decade of anxiety in your 50S. But if you spend this decade plugging the holes in your bucket and letting that water pile up, you are buying yourself a lifetime of peace. You are deciding right now whether the old you is going to be a person who is relaxed and happy or a person who is tired and stuck. We often think we have plenty of time. We tell ourselves, I'll catch up later. But in the world of money, later is the most expensive word in the dictionary. Every year you wait to take control of your finances in your 40S, the price of your freedom goes up. Think about your life right now. Look at your bank account. Look at your bills. Are you building a fortress that will protect you? Or are you building a prison that will keep you trapped at a desk for the next 30 years? The choice is yours, but the clock is ticking. This decade is where the game is won or lost. Don't let the noise of the world distract you from the goal. The goal isn't to look like you have money. The goal is to actually have it. And more importantly, the goal is to have the time to enjoy it. Now that we understand the danger of the peak, we have to look at the cold, hard numbers. Many people in their 40S feel like they can just work harder later to make up for lost time. They think that if they miss out on saving today, they can just double their savings at age 50 and end up in the same place. But math doesn't work that way. Math has a speed limit, and once you pass a certain age, the physics of money change entirely. Think of money like a snowball at the top of a hill. To make a giant snowball, you need two things: a lot of snow and a very long hill. When you are 20, your hill is incredibly long. Even a tiny hand-sized snowball has plenty of time to roll, pick up speed, and grow into a house-sized boulder by the time it hits the bottom. But when you are 40, your hill has been cut in half. To get that same giant boulder at the bottom, you can't rely on the length of the hill anymore. You have to start with a much, much bigger snowball. This is where the rule of 72 comes in. This is a simple trick to find out how long it takes for your money to double. You just take the number 72 and divide it by your interest rate. If you get a 7% return, your money doubles every 10 years. If you are 20 years old and you have $10, that 10 becomes 20 at age 30, it becomes 40 at age 40, it becomes 80 at age 50. And by the time you are 60, that original $10 has become $160. Now, look at what happens if you wait until you are 40 to start with that same $10. At age 50, it doubles to 20. At age 60, it doubles to 40. That's it. By waiting 20 years, you didn't just lose a little bit of money, you lost 4 times the growth. The person who started early ended up with 4 times more wealth using the exact same amount of effort. This is why $1 saved in your 40S is literally heavier than $1 saved in your 50S. It has more work to do and less time to do it. If you are 45 right now and you have nothing saved, you aren't just behind. You are in a race against a clock that is speeding up. To reach the same goal as someone who started at 25, you don't have to work twice as hard. You might have to work 5 or 10 times as hard. This is the math of no return. There's a point on the timeline where no amount of hard work can replace the missing years of growth. This is exactly why you need to hit the subscribe button right now. We are breaking down these invisible traps every week because the world wants you to keep spending, but this channel wants you to keep your freedom. If you understand this math, you're already ahead of 90% of the population. The scary part is that most 40-year-olds are doing the exact opposite of what the math suggests. Instead of building the biggest snowball possible, they are melting the snow they already have. They see their home value go up and they take out a loan against it to buy a kitchen remodel. They see their salary go up and they lease a car that costs more than their first apartment. They are essentially cutting their own hill shorter and shorter every single day. They tell themselves, I'll be fine because I'm making $150,000 a year. But a high income without assets is just a fancy way of being poor. If you lose that job, or if your health fails, or if you simply get tired of the corporate grind, that $150,000 vanishes instantly. The only thing that stays is the debt you took on to live that lifestyle. True wealth in your 40S is measured by how long you could live if you stopped working today. If You make $1 million a year, but your expenses are $1 million a year. You are exactly one paycheck away from being broke. You aren't rich. You are just a highly paid servant to your own lifestyle. The goal for this decade is to transition from being a labor earner to an asset owner. A labor earner trades hours for dollars. This is a bad trade because you only have 24 hours in a day, and eventually your body and mind will want to trade fewer of them. An asset owner has money soldiers that go out and work for them while they sleep. These money soldiers don't get tired. They don't take vacations. They don't need health insurance. When you invest in your 40S, you are buying these soldiers. If you buy a stock, a bond, or a piece of real estate, you are hiring employees whose only job is to bring you more money. In your 20S, you couldn't afford many soldiers. But in your 40S, with your higher salary, you can hire an entire army. If you do this correctly, by the time you hit your 50S, your army of money will be doing more work than you are. That is the moment you become truly free. That is the moment you can look at your boss and realize that you are there because you choose to be, not because you have to be. But every luxury you buy today that you don't need is like firing 10 of your best soldiers. That $800 car payment, that's an entire squad of soldiers you just kicked out of your army. That expensive club membership, that's a general you just sent into early retirement. You have to ask yourself, is this shiny object worth more than my future peace of mind? Most people will say yes to the object because they can see the object right now. They can't see the peace of mind yet. It feels like a ghost. It feels far away. But the 60-year-old version of you is not a ghost. That person is real. That person is going to be you, and they are going to have to live with the consequences of the choices you make this afternoon. If you make the right choice, the math is on your side. Even starting at 40 or 45, you still have time to build a formidable fortress. It's not as easy as it would have been at 20, but it is infinitely easier than it will be at 55. This is your last chance to use moderate effort to get extraordinary results. After this, the effort required goes through the roof. Don't let the simplicity of this logic fool you. Just because it's simple doesn't mean it's easy. It requires you to look at your life and admit that some of the things you thought were success are actually weights holding you back. It requires you to be the adult in the room when everyone else is acting like a teenager with a credit card. The math of no return is a warning, but it's also an invitation. It's an invitation to stop playing a losing game and start playing a game you can actually win. You don't need a miracle. You don't need to win the lottery. You just need to stop fighting the math and start using it. Even if you understand the math, there are 3 heavy weights that most people in their 40S tie around their ankles. We call these the 3 anchors. They are dangerous because they don't look like mistakes. In fact, in American culture, they look like the ultimate signs of making it. But if you aren't careful, these anchors will hold you at the bottom of the ocean long after you're ready to swim to the surface. The first anchor is the status house. In your 40S, you've likely spent 15 or 20 years working. You feel you've outgrown your starter home. You want the high ceilings, the 3-car garage, and the prestigious zip code. But here's the logic no one tells you. A bigger house isn't just a bigger mortgage. It's a bigger version of every single expense in your life. A bigger house means higher property taxes, higher insurance, more furniture to buy, more rooms to heat, and a bigger lawn to mow. When you upgrade your house in your 40S, you aren't just spending your current income. You are locking yourself into a high-cost lifestyle for the next 30 years. You are essentially signing a contract that says, I promise to stay stressed and keep working a high-pressure job until I'm 70 just to maintain these empty rooms. The status house is often the single biggest reason why high earners feel broke. They are house rich and freedom poor. They have a beautiful kitchen they are too tired to cook in because they spend all day at a job they can't afford to quit. The second anchor is the luxury car cycle. By the time people hit 40, they are tired of driving the reliable sedan. They want something that reflects their position in the world. They want the German engineering or the electric SUV that costs $80,000. But cars are the fastest melting ice cubes in the world of finance. A luxury car loses thousands of dollars in value the moment you drive it off the lot. Most 40-year-olds don't just buy one car. They enter a cycle. They lease or finance a new one every 3 to 4 years. They become comfortable with a permanent $800 or $1,200 monthly payment. If you took that same $1,000 a month and put it into a simple index fund, starting at age 40, by the time you were 60, you would have nearly $500,000. That is the true cost of the luxury car cycle. It's not just the price of the car. It's the $500,000 of freedom you traded for a machine that smells like new leather for 6 months. The third anchor is perhaps the most controversial: over-parenting finances. Because you are in your 40s, your children are likely heading toward their teenage years or college. You want the best for them. You want to pay for the private sports coaches, the expensive summer camps, and the 100% covered university tuition. You feel like a good parent when you spend this money. But here's the hard truth. Your children can get a loan for college. You cannot get a loan for retirement. If you empty your nest egg to give your children a debt-free degree, but you end up broke and move into their guest room when you are 75, you haven't actually helped them. You've just delayed the burden. The greatest gift you can give your children is your own financial independence. By ensuring you are comfortable rather than stressed, you are making sure they never have to choose between their own career and taking care of a parent who didn't plan ahead. I want to stop here for a second and ask you a real question. Look around your life right now. What is one luxury you bought in your 40s or late 30s that actually made your life more stressful? Maybe it's a vacation home you have to maintain, or a car that requires expensive repairs. Tell me in the comments. We need to start talking about how success often feels like a trap. These three anchors are all fueled by the same thing: the need for external validation. We buy the house, the car, and the expensive lifestyle because we want our peers to see that we've won the race. But the race is a lie. The people you are trying to impress are likely just as stressed as you are. They are sitting in their own big houses, looking at their own luxury car payments, wondering how they are going to pay for their kids' tuition. In your 40s, the most radical thing you can do is to stop caring what other people think. If you can keep your expenses low while your income is high, you create a gap. That gap is where your freedom lives. If you make $150,000 but live like you make $70,000, you are more powerful than a CEO who makes $500,000 and spends $500,000. The CEO is a slave to the company. You are a person who can walk away. To break the power of the three anchors, you have to redefine what winning looks like. Winning isn't having the newest car in the neighborhood. Winning is being the only person on your street who doesn't wake up with a knot in their stomach on Monday morning. Winning is being able to take a lower paying job that you actually love because your house is paid off and your snowball is already big enough. The 40s are the decade of the great reality check. It's the time when you realize that more is not better. More is often just more weight. If you can cut the chains of these anchors now, your 50s and 60s will be the best years of your life. You will have the energy of middle age with the financial backing of a king. But if you keep adding anchors, the water will eventually rise above your head. You'll be 55, earning the most money of your life, and feeling like you are drowning. You'll look at the stress path and realize it wasn't a path at all, it was a cage. It is time to be honest about the cost of your lifestyle. It is time to decide if you want to look rich or if you want to be free. You cannot have both if you are using your 40s to buy anchors. The choice is yours, but remember, every anchor you cut today makes you float that much higher tomorrow. The time for looking back is over. We have analyzed the traps, the math, and the anchors. Now we enter the most important phase, the great pivot. This is where you stop being a passenger in your own life and start being the captain. If you're feeling a bit of pressure right now, that's good. Pressure is what turns coal into diamonds. If you're feeling motivated to change your trajectory, hit that like button. It tells the world and yourself that you are ready to take control. The great pivot is a shift in your identity. Most people in their 40s identify as their job title. They say, I am a manager or I am an engineer because they identify as their job. They focus entirely on their income. But as we've discussed, income is a temporary tool. To become comfortable and lose the stress, you must begin to identify as an asset manager. Your job is just the capital provider for your real business, the business of buying your future back. The first step in the pivot is the automatic floor. You need to set a baseline for your future that you cannot touch. This means automating your savings so that the money is gone before you even see it. In your 20S, you could save what was left over at the end of the month. In your 40S, you must save first and live on what is left. If you wait until the end of the month, the status house and the luxury car will always find a way to eat that money. By automating, you remove the decision fatigue. You stop negotiating with yourself. The second step is the debt cleanse. In your 40S, debt is a leak in your fortress. Every dollar you pay in interest is a dollar that isn't rolling your snowball. You need to look at every high-interest debt credit cards, personal loans, even that high car payment, and treat it like a fire in your kitchen. You don't manage a fire, you put it out. Being debt-free in your 50S is the ultimate luxury. It reduces the amount of money you need to survive, which effectively makes your savings last twice as long. The third step is bridge building. You need to look at the gap between where you are now and where you want to be at 60. Most people just hope for the best. Asset managers use a plan. They look at their burn rate, how much it costs to be them, and they work to lower it. Every $1,000 you cut from your monthly expenses in your 40S is $300,000. You don't need to save for retirement. Read that again. It is much easier to spend less than it is to earn and save an extra $300,000. As you move through these steps, something incredible happens. Your stress levels begin to drop. Not because you have millions of dollars yet, but because you have a plan. Stress comes from the unknown. Peace comes from the known. When you know exactly how many money soldiers you have and exactly where they are marching, the invisible fork in the road becomes a clear, paved highway. We are coming to the end of our journey today, but it is actually the beginning of yours. I want you to take a deep breath and look at the path ahead. Your 40S are not the end of the story. They are the climax. This is the moment where the hero realizes their power and decides to change the ending. You have worked too hard for too many years to end up tired, stressed, and stuck. You deserve more than a nice car and a big mortgage. You deserve the right to wake up when you're done sleeping. You deserve the right to spend your afternoons with the people you love without checking your email every 5 minutes. You deserve a life where your value isn't tied to a cubicle or a conference call. The world will try to pull you back into the stress path. It will whisper that you need a newer phone, a bigger TV, or a faster car to be happy. But you know better now. You know that those things are just distractions from the ultimate prize, your freedom. 20 years from now, you will be 60 or 65. You will be sitting on a porch somewhere looking out at the world. You will either be looking out with a heavy heart, wondering how you're going to pay the bills, or you will be looking out with a smile, knowing that you did the hard work when it mattered most. You will be thankful for the person you are right now. You will be thankful that today, on this day, you decided to pivot. The invisible fork is right here. One way is crowded, loud, and full of people chasing shadows. The other way is quiet, focused, and leads to a valley of absolute peace. I can't walk the path for you, but I can tell you that the view from the other side is worth every sacrifice you make today. Take the first step. Audit your life. Cut one anchor. Hire 10 more money soldiers. The 60-year-old version of you is waiting. Don't let them down. Go out there and build the life you were meant to live. Your future freedom starts with the choice you make in the next 5 minutes. Make it count